Welcome to the BookBlast podcast, which showcases the best writing from around the world, not only for adults, but also for young adults and children. Today, I'm delighted to be talking with Sian Williams, founder of the Children's Bookshow, which BookBlast has been honoured to promote in various ways since 2016. The Children's Bookshow is a charity that inspires schoolchildren with a love of reading through an annual programme of in-theatre and digital performances and in-school workshops with the very best authors and illustrators from around the world. Thank you, Sian Williams, for being with us today. When you and your then husband, Glenn Thompson, started the Writers and Readers Publishing Cooperative in the 70s, most notably launching the Beginner's Guides, which were later made into a BBC TV series, your mission was to make a difference through publishing. Is that the impetus behind the Children's Bookshow? And how do books change a child's life?
I wanted to make sure that it started actually with a specific occasion at the Centre for Literacy in Primary Education, run by Myra Bars. And I was working as a freelance for her, and she'd produced a wonderful book called Simply the Best Books for Children. And she wanted to know how to get it out to the public. And because of my publishing experience, I knew that a one-off book from an institute wouldn't be that welcome by booksellers, because there was always a problem of returns and that sort of thing. So it was at the time of Captain Corelli's Mandolin, which had become a huge hit by word of mouth. And I thought, that's what I'll do. I'll make it word of mouth to all of the teachers across the country that I can manage to reach.
Just before we go more into the Children's Bookshow, when you were at the Readers Publishing Cooperative, did you publish just adult books, or did you also publish children and young adult books?
We did publish children's books.
So
we worked with an organisation in Milan who were publishing feminist children's books, picture books. They weren't a great hit here. At the time, it was simply a practical question. The library suppliers in the north weren't happy with the binding of the book.
They were all for feminism.
Yes,
Good,
it was actually that.
Do you actually get community or national arts funding, because it's a charity?
We were supported by Arts Council England to do a tour, and also to give books to children during the tour. So we thought that we would find the best writers, and we did start off with everyone from Quentin Blake to Michael Rosen, with Roger McGuff and the late Adrian Mitchell as well. And we would put them in places where we knew that there would be a guaranteed audience. So initially, we worked with festivals all over the country, whether the Manchester Literature Festival or the Cheltenham Literature Festival. And that gave us an idea of how we could continue, because it was very, very, very much welcomed.
So do publishers, do they give you books for free then?
Well, we buy the books from the publishers at discount and then give them free to the schools.
So that the parents and schools don't buy them?
Just under 8,000 children get free books. They go to the performance, they see the writer or illustrator on stage, and then when they come out of the auditorium, we give them a book that's theirs to keep and take home. Initially, we gave them to the schools, but we found often that they were being locked up in a cupboard, and the teachers would say, "Oh, are we dividing them between two classes?" So we had to say, no, the idea is that you bring one class, every child in that class gets a book to take home, and it's theirs. It's not the schools. They are going to share it with their parents, with their siblings, with their family.
And so the school and the parents and the family, they don't buy the books. You therefore have to budget for the books in the funding that you get from the Arts Council. Right. Okay.
And in that respect, the Unwin Trust has been really very supportive, because...
So tell us about the Unwin Trust.
One of their aims was really, Merlin Unwin they've been giving us a small amount of money every year. And because the person who advised me to approach them said, oh, they don't give very much money. And I said, fine. But then I invited Merlin Unwin to come to an event. And it was at the l'Institut Français. And it was with Michael Rosen and Quentin Blake. And he came off stage afterwards, after the performance, he came into the auditorium and said, well, we've been giving you so much, now we want to increase it. And we want it to be on a 3-year basis. And from then on, they gave us a lot of money to buy the books. So that was really helpful.
It was 100, how many schools are from across the country?
135.
And so obviously to begin with, they've gradually all come on board.
8,000 children over 13 events
Over
in
13
theatres
events.
and with workshops.
And this is largely in cities and towns. Describe the locations a little bit around the country of where the shows are held.
We change actually because it's important to. So
Yeah.
we reach new places. So this year, for example, we're going to Portsmouth for the first time.
Okay.
Yes, and also to Peterborough. But some places, like the l'Institut Français in London, we go to every year.
Right.
But it's necessary to reach different parts of the country. Of course, it's only England because it's Arts Council England supports.
So you have a sort of core of places you go to, and then a second level, if you
That's
like, that
right.
you move around. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, even in London, we change venues. So we've worked at the Old Vic, we've worked at the Bloomsbury Theatre. It varies.
Is it not a concept that might spread into Scotland or Wales with those arts councils?
Arts Council England are supporting us, so
they would need...
we need to go to those places.
Yeah. Yes, so now how do you choose the authors and the books to come on tour? What are your criteria for choosing the authors and books?
Well, it's very simple. I look for the best. I look for excellence. Publishers send me books. I look at their catalogues. Some publishers are more fruitful than others. And then they send me the books, and also to my partner, Kate. Of course, we also look abroad. Very important. So we've had writers from Australia. We had an Aboriginal writer. That was wonderful. It was so exciting for the children. So, this year we have...
so who do you have this year?
We have a writer, Beatrice Rodriguez, who's French. We have Sydney Smith, who's coming from Canada. Alina, who is from Latvia. So there's always a few.
What kind of feedback do you get from the children or the schools?
Lots of schools come back again and again, because the other thing that's very important to the book show and to the teachers is that they get a workshop so that the writer goes into a school.
Yes. So there are workshops. Okay.
And works with children on their own creative work. So I've seen how Jessica Suhami tells a fairy tale and puts it in a different context. So the children have a basic story to start with, which makes it easier. Plus, she always says, draw first. And so they draw their pictures first, and then they think about the writing. It's not so daunting.
So you do have partners outside the UK, in Australia and the US, for example?
Yes.
So
we work every year with Gecko in Australia.
Right.
And we work with lots of different cultural organisations here. So we've worked with the l'Institut Français that I've already mentioned, but also l'Istituto Italiano di Cultura, and now the Embassy of Latvia. And so we're always looking to make partnerships with people from outside the UK.
In America, there's been a lot of problems with books being removed from schools, and they're banning books and books. There's a very odd situation going on in America in terms of censorship.
We haven't had any problems there. We've had, just for the last few years, and he's coming again this year, an absolutely extraordinary African-American writer called Kwame Alexander, And some of his books have actually been adapted by Disney. And the latest one is about the forced displacement of African people to the States.
So the lineup this year, you're going to be in Wolverhampton, Exeter,
Ipswich, Hull, Coventry, Peterborough, Blackpool, Newcastle, Portsmouth, Bristol, and as always, the l'Institut Français.
Right. Yeah. Let's see, we've got Owen Shears, who often appears. Elle Fountain, yes, I recognise her from previous promotions. Frank Cottrell
Boyce, who's a new addition for us.
Yeah.
He's a broadcaster as well.
Okay.
He wrote the script for the Olympics when they were here with Danny Boyle.
So Val Bloom and Sam Usher, I don't recognise. Well,
Sam
tell
Usher
me about
is a
them.
new name, but Val Bloom is a Jamaican poet who's marvellous on stage.
Catherine Johnson?
She's, again, Welsh and something else.
And so what kind of ages, the span of 8 years?
It's from 5, really, when they go to school first, up to 11.
Up to 11.
We try doing a little bit in secondary school, but teachers are unwilling to take them out because they're already locked into the curriculum, really. And it was much harder to get the audiences, so we stopped now at the top class of primary.
And do some of the booksellers come on board? For example, if you're doing a show in Newcastle or in Coventry, do the local booksellers or Waterstones, do they do a special display? Do you get them to do?
Yes.
Will they help and do displays? It's important that helps sell books.
We did used to do that. We had a bookstall at every event, but because we've got the funding now, there was not that incentive.
The longevity, just to finish with the longevity of the book show and its continuing. Describe your vision, how it will continue.
We've chosen excellent books which will endure, and I have a very strong team of colleagues, all with different talents, from staging the authors and artists on stage to making applications for fundraising, very important. Particularly constant has been the support of Arts Council England and the Unwin Trust, and also the publishers who actually do every year make a small contribution for their inclusion of their writer in the tour, which I thought was very important to get them on board too.
So thank you very much, Sian Williams, for your time
My
and for
pleasure.
giving us invaluable insights into the children's book show.